question as well, if that's all right. It's to do
Yeah,
with
go.
indoor plants. So I grow a lot of indoor plants. I think I've got about 30 or 40 inside
Yes.
my house, and I just put them in the shower.
Yep.
And just use the shower head to wash them over. And is that like stimulating kind of like wind?
Well, they're very lucky.
washes the
They're
leaking?
very lucky plants to have a shower with you. I
Yeah,
can say.
okay. Not with
Well,
me, obviously.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, well, why not? You know, you can get two uses of the water then. But be surrounded by your plants, you know, they're your best friends. But what shower water quite often does is it replicates rainwater. And the reason that rainwater is better than tap water is because as it's flying through the air, it picks up oxygen. And rainwater is oxygen rich, and any gardener will tell you that you can water till the cows come home, but as soon as a rain comes, it is so beneficial to the garden. And that's basically what you're doing on your inside plants. You're giving them a light shower where it's picking up that oxygen, so it's having an oxygenation process before it actually gets to the plant itself, which is a great thing. You know, most of your plants that you have inside are basically tropical, you know, rainforest type plants anyway, and that's the environment they live in. They live in heavy rain dense forests with very little light, and that's why they're called house plants, because they will tolerate very little light, because there's not often every space that we have that can then have sunlight going through our house. So the ones that like the sunlight we put near the windows, but the ones that will tolerate, like your peace lilies, for instance, they don't care whether they ever see the sun ray ever again. You know, they'll just continue to just pick up whatever light's around and, you know, just do well. So yeah, it's amazing. So you're doing a great thing. Absolutely.
Great. Thanks. Good to know. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. So I can't see how many people we've got now. Lauren, are we all back and everyone here? If you're not here, put your hand up. All right. So Lauren, you're okay for me to keep going?
Yes, John, if you'd like to keep going. We've still got 15 people. Some people have their cameras switched off, but that's probably because they're feeling a little bit shy.
That's all right. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I can't see anyone anyway, so I'm sharing my screen. That's all I can see is the screen at the moment. So
yeah,
I will keep going.
All right.
Now let's finish that off. All right, so let's talk about companion planting. There's a lot of been talked about with companion planting. So what is companion planting? Well, companion planting is, as the name suggests, it's about finding companions to grow with other things. So things that are beneficial for other things. So it's not only to enhance planting, but it's also could be for pollination. It could be because there are some plants that are beneficial to other plants. But one of the things that you should grow in your knowledge base is which plants like to go with which plants. So our classic summer, tomato and basil. You know, when you think about it, quite often it's the way that we cook as well. And these plants will quite often go well in the garden together. So tomato and basil. So tomato, being a tall plant, is in the middle of the garden, and basil is on the outside. So which way will the basil face? It'll face into the northern sun, right? The northern sky. So always put this on the outside, because you know that your tomato plant's going to be large and they're going to be quite thicken up quite a lot. Basil is a Mediterranean type plant. It loves the dry, it loves the heat, it loves the sun. And the more sun intensity you get, the more intense those leaves become. And I don't know about you guys, but there's nothing like a smell of basil coming fresh out of your garden. It really is an absolute gem. So it's something that I really quite look forward to. All right, so something else that you may not know about, carrots and alliums. Now, alliums is the name of a group of plants. Alliums are mostly your onion family. So garlics, shallots, you could have leeks, you can have chives, all of these are alliums. They're all part of the same family. So carrots and alliums. Now, why are these getting along so well together? Well, carrots are a root plant, so they go down deep. Where does the onion bulb sit? It sits on top of the soil. So the two of them can go very closely together. So whenever I'm planting out carrots, I'll do what the packet says. I'll put the rows 10 centimetres apart. But you know what I'll do is I'll put a sneaky little row of onions in the middle. All right? Or I may do the opposite way around. I might put the onions in first, and you can buy those as seedlings. And then I'll put the seeds, I'll sow the seed carrot in between the rows. And that way I'm increasing my productivity. So companion planting can also be about understanding the plants and their relationships, but also increasing your productivity within the garden as well. So get to know your groupings together, and you'll find that you'll get a lot more beneficial out of your garden, because at the end of the day, we've got limited soil which we can grow in, and we want to pump as much as we possibly can out. And you know, when it comes to summer, how many of us have excessive amounts of vegetables? You know, if you try and give tomatoes away in the height of summer, everyone goes, sorry, no, got plenty. All right, because there's an abundance of tomatoes. We all know that. We know that as gardeners, we're all guilty of sowing too many tomato seeds. You know, I'll put a few more in just in case. Really, tomatoes are very, very reliable germinator of seed, and just don't overgo it. I would go the opposite way. I would put no more than 4 in a punter, and I would wait for those to grow up a little bit, and then in say a month's time, I'll grow another 4, because I know that out of those 4, I only need 2 of those plants, and so I'm doubling what I need to. Anyway, don't grow 30. Don't grow 30 into a small area, because you'll never use them. I mean, you'll only have pulling them out anyway. And you know, even to try and give the seedlings away quite often with tomatoes, if it's late into the season, you won't be able to do that. So we need to think about something called successive planting as well. So think ahead when you're going to have some gaps, when you want to put new plants in. So if we're thinking summer, we've got basically December, January, February. Well, we like to extend that out a little bit. So for instance, our tomatoes. Who doesn't want tomatoes at the beginning of December rather than the middle of January, when most of us get them? So if you can get them into a little bit earlier, well then that's really good. I'll talk about that in our next subject. So think about how much plants you're growing and what you're growing with. There's a thing what we call 3 sisters, and I don't know if any of you ever tried. This is one of those fantastic space-saving things that we can do. In one bed, we're going to grow some corn. Wait till the corn grows a little bit. Then we're going to plant some beans, and the beans are a vine, and they will grow up the stalk of the corn. And underneath on the floor of the bed, you're going to have pumpkin. So you can have pumpkin, you're going to have watermelon, you can have summer squash, you can have anything of what they call the curvicates family. You can even have cucumber if you want. And it's going to grow along the floor of the bed. It's going to keep the floor of the bed nicely cooled because of the big, large leaves that it has. The corn's going to sit up tall. You're going to have beans popping out of your corn stalks, and as well as that, you're going to have a nice crop of corn. So once again, companion plant, they all get along well together, right? They occupy different spaces. So beans being what we call a legume, legumes will produce nitrogen nodules on their roots, and when they break down, they release more nitrogen, so they're a beneficial plant. So not every plant that you put into your garden is going to be hungry, and it's not going to necessarily take from your soil. Beans and peas are what we call a giver. They give nitrogen, they give back to the soil rather than take from the soil. Whereas your hungry plants like tomatoes and broccoli and cauliflowers and all those types of plants, they're hungry and they rob your soil of nutrient. So that's why we have to put amendments back in, because of those heavy feeding type plants. The last group, which I've got here, is what we call free agents. And I call them free agents is because if you've got a gap in your garden, these are the sort of things that you can pop in there. Now, who doesn't like parsley? I mean, parsley is a wonderful thing. It grows, it's what we call a biennial. So it'll grow for 2 years before it puts up a seed head. So you'll get really good value for 2 years of one parsley plant. But we're not going to go for one parsley plant because this one here is a flat leaf parsley. This is what they call the Italian parsley. We will also go for the curly leaf as well. So we're going to pop some different bits and pieces in here and in there. And this is quite harmless to any of the plants that you put in. It's not going to bother them whatsoever. So feel free, pop in a parsley plant wherever you've got a gap. You can put lettuce in because lettuce are a very light feeder and they don't really mind where they go. As long as there's some sun, pop a lettuce in here, pop a lettuce in over there. Don't put all of your plants together, folks, okay? Do not put 12 lettuce plants together because you know what? The slugs and the snarls are going to have a party at your expense. They go, hey guys, over here, there's a party going on with lettuce. You put a lettuce in between different plants, the different smells, so like from the basil and from all the other herbs that you might put in with your garden, what it's going to do is going to mask the smell and the scent of the plants. And so therefore you're going to have less attack on your garden. So this is a wonderful thing you can do. Another good thing that you can have is to have dill. Now, dill is said to enhance flavour within your. So, if you want better tasting tomatoes, if you want better tasting beetroot or onions or whatever like that, plant some dill in amongst your garden. It's a very, very good thing. It goes well with fish and pork and chicken, and it's a wonderful, really light. Aniseedy sort of smelling type plant. I just love it. They have a flower on there, what they call an umbellifer. It's one part of the umbellifer family. And the umbellifer family is, as it suggests, is an umbrella type family. Anything like that will also be beneficial because it will bring in beneficial flies and wasps and they'll be feeding on the nectar of the tiny, tiny flowers that these things produce. So it's a great thing to have. The other one, part of the umbellifer flower family is the carrots as well. So if you let carrots go to seed, they'll have a nice umbrella type flower on there as well. Once again, it'll bring in all those nice beneficials, which we'll talk about in a minute. Last one, comfrey. I don't know if you've got any comfrey in your garden at all, but it's one of those wonderful things you can have. Comfrey is what we classify as a miner. It doesn't mean it's underage. It means that it mines for minerals. It goes down deep and it'll accumulate into the leaves, all of the minerals that it mines deep down in your garden. When those leaves die off, they become very beneficial for providing nutrient in your garden bed. The other thing that comfrey is fantastic for is what we call a compost accelerator. So what it'll also do is it'll accelerate the rate at which your compost will rot down because all of these extra nutrients going into it from the comfrey will actually add to your comfrey as well, add to your compost as well. So another fantastic beneficial plant to have in your garden. So this is only a few of, and this is a small snapshot of companion planting, but trust me, there's lots to learn about companion planting. There's a lot of good things because what we're doing here by companion planting is we're bringing in the flowers as well. We're bringing in the pollinators, we're bringing in the beneficial insects, and we're going to really look after our garden by having healthy, balanced and abundant in what we produce. When we want to look after our plants, we need to think about the things that are going to be out there attacking us. So one of the first things I always think of, and most of you probably would have come across this, would have been aphids. So aphids are a sucking type plant. you can see here, this is a new leaf. This is a rose. And every rose gardener knows that aphids are the bane of their existence because there are literally thousands of them. They get over the top of the bud, they suck the juice out of the new growth, and you have poor growth as a result. So that's not something that's really good. Particularly in the spring when the plants are starting to put their new growth out, they're highly susceptible to aphids. Try and resist putting a spray on them, guys, okay? Try to resist putting a spray on them, because what we want is there are little tiny wasps out there, and they'll actually put their stinger into individual aphids, and they will parasitize them, which means that they will place an egg inside the aphid, and that aphid will then become the food for the next wasp that's going to emerge from it. If you have a very close look before you spray, have a look, because some of these things may be green at the moment, but you may also see some specks of black. The black ones are the dead ones, the ones that have been parasitized by the wasps, and that's what you want to build up, because if you start killing these off in mass, you're killing all the beneficial wasp food off. So it means that the beneficial wasps won't breed up, they won't have food, and you'll still have dead plants anyway. We've got to look for balance. We've got to look for balance within nature. Who doesn't know about the white butterfly, okay, and the devastation it does? It has the grub, the green grub that grows on them. Now, this is what we call the brassica family. So any cabbages, broccoli, kale. Actually, it doesn't really go much for kale because no one really likes kale too much. That's my opinion anyway. Where were we? Cauliflower, they're all part of the brassica family. And the white butterfly, particularly in the warmer months, will be around. So we start to get excited about putting all of these things into a garden around about March or April. And there's still lots of these white butterflies around. We put them in, the little seedlings in, the white butterflies lay their egg on them, and you get all these grubs, they eat all your plants, and you think, what am I doing this for? You've got to protect them, guys, you know. So we'll talk about some ways in a minute, but just be aware that white butterflies, they can be eradicated. You can do that. This white sort of look on the leaf is what we call white fly, and you might see them. They're very, once again, they're a sucking type fly. They're minute, they're absolutely minute. And they lay eggs on the underside of the leaf. So you have a look on the underside of the leaf and you'll see all the eggs. But when you brush over your plant, you get all these like little tiny flies that will fly up, and you'll see that they're white in colour. They need to be looked after because they are sucking the life out of your plants as well. Who doesn't know Mr. Slug and Mr. Snail? Eh? They do lots of damage. All I can say, guys, is if you're having some problems with these ones, what I would highly recommend is go out at night with a torch and go and have a look to see what's in your garden at night, because you're not going to see them during the day. They're so sneaky. They have lots and lots of hiding places. Go out at night and have a good look at what's in your garden. Get to know what's actually in your garden, because these people are going to come, or these insects are going to come out at night and they're going to have a good old feast. So know what's in your garden. Another thing you can do is you can get something like a margarine container or butter container that's reasonably deep. You can put some water in there and just dig a hole, put the container so it's level with your soil, and just leave it for a few days. And what will happen is that insects will fall into that container. And it doesn't sound very nice, but what you're actually doing is you're doing a science experiment. You're actually seeing what is actually in your garden, and you'll get a good sample of snails and slugs and little grubs of this sort and that sort, and maybe a millipede or something like that. But it gives you a good idea of what's actually in there. So we all see those little slaters. I don't know if you know what they call buddies or something like that. I think they're called. You touch them, they curl up. They look really prehistoric, like they've got armor over their back. These are really good. These are things that are breaking your fiber down in your garden. They're not the ones that are eating your plants. Earwigs. Earwigs are the same. You know, you want to know, do you have earwig problem? If you want to find out if you've got an earwig problem, get a piece of paper, screw it up, and just put it in the bottom of your garden underneath the base of a plant, and come out in the morning and undo the piece of paper and see how many earwigs you got in there. Because if you've got lots of earwigs, what you can do is then just pick that paper up and just throw it in the fire, or throw it in your bin, or put it in your compost, or put it in your organic waste, or whatever like that. You're going to get rid of your earwigs pretty quickly, because they can't resist finding this protection in this folded up paper, because that's the sort of environment they like to be in. Now, these are two of the worst things that you can have in your garden: possums and rats. And trust me, guys, we have rats in our gardens at night. We have mice in our gardens at night, but we also have possums, particularly over the winter months. Just start to come out now. You'll have lots of problems with possums. They will eat everything that is green out of your garden that they can. All right, they'll eat the buds of your flowers. They'll eat all of your vegetables if they're unprotected. So unfortunately, I've had to put out a wire army in my garden to try and stop these critters from munching everything down. We had a lovely crop of spinach that was coming on. Possum came into the garden and ate every single thing in that garden bed overnight, and it was devastating. You know, you try again, and the same sort of thing happens. A whole bunch of lettuce is gone. These guys are really hungry in the winter time. They need to eat. They need to keep their energy up. They need to keep their warmth as well. They're a protected species. There's not a lot we can do about that. We need to learn to live with them in our garden. We also try feeding them in a certain part of the garden. But unfortunately, I went out one night to see if the possum was out there, and a rat ran away. So we had a rat actually eating our possum food. So, you know, go out and have a look what's outside, guys, at night time, because you might be surprised what's actually living in your garden and around, you know. So there's a real problem in it. If you've got rats and you're not too sure what to do with them, well, then ask one of your exterminators to have a look around, because rats are a problem. They'll get into your roof space, they'll get into your walls. They'll get anywhere, particularly in the winter time. And if you're providing food from your garden for them, guess what? They're going to stay with you. So we don't necessarily want that. All right, so let's look at the beneficials that we've got around. We've got things like ladybugs. Now, ladybugs come in different colours. They can be red, they can be orange, they can be yellow. They're all ladybugs. They're just different varieties, but they are prolific eaters of aphids. They absolutely love aphids. That's all they want to live on. Give me a bowl of aphids for breakfast every day, and they will be happy ladybugs, and they will live in your garden. And they put a smile on your face when you see them in the garden. So, you know, why wouldn't we want to encourage them? So try not to spray your aphids, guys. If it's really getting out of control, you might want to think about putting some beneficial type biological control out, but try and keep away from the chemicals as much as you possibly can. So there's another thing called a lacewing, which is, once again, very much attracted to those umbrella type flowers that I was just telling you about, with the carrots and the parsley and that sort of thing. And these are really a beneficial in your garden as well. They will eat the aphids as much as anything else. They'll get into the whitefly, and they will start to, because you've got to remember, nature is in balance. What we're doing is we're doing things that are unnatural. We're growing things that probably wouldn't normally be there. So we're providing food for not only beneficials, but also for the not so nice things. So like the white butterflies and the aphids and the whiteflies and the grubs and all those sorts of things, the earwigs and the slugs and the earwigs and the slaters. So we need to find that balance. We need to allow the insect world to balance itself out, because it will. If we're patient with it, we will absolutely will do. Put lots of flowers into your gardens, guys. You know, calendula. is a beautiful flower. Once you've got calendula, you will never get rid of it because it seeds prolifically. It takes over your gardens, but who cares? You can pull them out. It's not like kikuyu or something. I curse that running grass because it just goes in everywhere. It goes in through your garden beds. It goes through everywhere, and it's so hard to garden in your garden with running grasses. I would much rather be having calendulas and pulling those out because I know that I can control how many I have or don't have. And it doesn't matter if I take the whole lot out. I know that more are going to pop up later because there was seed in the ground that I didn't see before. So who cares, you know? Calendulas, marigolds, you know, any of those lovely bright coloured flowers. Put in some sunflowers. Who doesn't like the smile of a sunflower? You know, these are beneficial, and you'll get a smile and you'll get a kick out of it too by putting them into your garden. And when they're finished smiling, you harvest the seed, and you've got sunflower seeds. You can put them on your muesli, or you can keep the seed for next year and have more smiles if you like. Don't underestimate the effects of little lizards and skinks and things like that you may have. Blue tongues are really good for snails and slugs. They love them. They'll eat them until they're blue in the face. They'll also eat all the other types of insects. So encourage your little skinks. Put some little habitats in your garden. So put some places where these guys can hide. If you've got a garden bed, build a little habitat close by so that they've got places they can go underneath, and they can get away from things like birds that are going to come around and predate on them. If you have to do any spraying, I would only recommend something natural like an eco oil. Eco oil will you can spray onto aphids and whitefly, and it will smother them, and it smothers their eggs, and it will help to eradicate them. But you know, go easy. It's only if there's an imbalance that I would probably need to do this, and I would carefully think about all the other measures that I might be able to take first. I mean, I know it's not very nice, but if you've got white butterfly, you can go around and you can pick all the grubs off of your plants. You can squish them on the plants. If you've got, you know, if you can do that sort of thing, the guts from the caterpillar deters the moss from going in there. You can brush, or you can get a hose and you can squirt the aphid off of your heads of your plants where they're sucking. That's quite an effective method. So you can do some natural things before you get to the chemical side. So think about the nature and balancing, trying to think about some of the easy things we can do by brushing them off, squirting them off, or other type of methods where you can put some traps in, where you can trap them and then get them out of your garden and away from it. As I said, with possums and that, you may have to build a robust cage over the top to stop them from getting into those areas, because they'll do everything they can to get in. You could use something like these fabric type nettings that you can get from your hardware stores. These are fantastic for excluding the white butterfly, so they won't be able to lay their eggs. They'll know that there's plants there. But you know something, if you grow healthy plants in the first place, a lot of these things that we don't like in our gardens, they won't even touch your plants. And if you maintain healthy soil, what you're going to end up with is you're going to end up with healthy, vibrant plants. And these plants put off, I don't know whether it's radiation, whether it's a vibration, good vibrations, whatever it is, but there can be some plants that never get touched by these white butterfly. Other plants next to them, they get massacred. And you go, well, these are the same plants. Why are one getting massacred and they're not touching the other one? Why aren't they just doing the whole lot? There's an energy about these plants. When you've got a strong, vibrant thing, they're able to look after themselves. Once again, don't put 12 broccoli together, because you're just going to get a massive white butterfly coming in. Hey guys, come on over here. Come and lay your eggs here. You know, like, disperse them. Don't have monocrops, have polycrops, multiple crops. So have some flowers, have some sage, have some rosemary, have different types of aromatic type plants in amongst your gardens. mix it up a bit, confuse the heck out of these insects, and you'll find you'll have a lot less predation. All right. So that's about all I got for you today, guys. I was going to, if I stop here, I was going to get to make some white butterflies together out of some plastic. We'll have to do that another time, won't we? So, does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask?
I have a question.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
Yeah, I just really like the idea of microgreens. Just wonder how many times like we can crop, and like, is that going to be forever? And also, like, for the end, should I put it into like a transport that move to the garden bed? Is that okay for, like, for example, the basil?
No, microgreens are just that. They're just growing the tops, and then you cut them off, and then you throw your seed out into the garden. If it wants to grow again, it can. But we just grow, because what you're doing is you're taking the stored energy from the seed, and you're not going to really get too much more out of it, because we're not putting them into nutrient soil. We're just growing it from the energy of the seed. And that example in the video that I showed you, where for the second week where it was going yellow, that's because it was a spent force. It was all of the energy had come out of the seed and it was starting to go yellow. So it needed to be fed artificially. But I only grow that wheat for my chickens. So I want it nice and green for my chickens. So they got some green feed to pick at. So that was the main reason why I grow those. But a good question. Thank you. Any other questions? You're all on mute at the moment. Hi, Jared.
Hi, John. Thank you very much for your program. It was very interesting. I was quite interested in trying this. You showed earlier growing potatoes vertically in your tires.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, so last year I planted certified, some kind of a blue skin potato, Royal Blues perhaps.
Yeah.
So they're really nice and they crop well, but of course, I've just started digging the veggie patch and some popped up from last year.
And they will. And next year they will too, and the year after.
Exactly that. So I dug them up and I found a few that were nice to eat. But there's quite a few that are viable. So I shifted them over to the next garden bed. And I thought, well, I didn't really want to take up as much space. So I was interested in doing what you did with growing them vertically. And so I think you said you just keep adding soil and forcing them up. Is that?
Well, you don't. Well, potatoes are one of those things you don't actually have to grow in soil. You can actually grow them with straw.
Right.
So you can use sugarcane mulch, you can use pea mulch, you can use straw, whatever you want. You might start with a small layer of soil just to put your potatoes into, but as they start growing up, you cover them again. I
actually have done that. I've transplanted them from one bit to, and they're doing quite well. I dug them out with green bits on the top already.
Good.
So they seem to be quite happy. And I got any amounts of leftover building site wood. So I just thought I could add 90 mil of wood, a frame every however. And that's all you do. You just keep forcing them upwards.
But keep burying them underneath the straw. And so it forces them up. Yeah. Because what will end up happening is the taller they get under the ground, the more chance they'll put roots out, and where the roots come out, that's where they'll have new spuds.
Yeah. So I just wondered, so if you did it with pea straw, which is would be really good, how would you actually keep that moist? Because wouldn't the water just go right through?
Well, it does, but at this time of day, this time of year, there's reasonable amount of moisture in the air. There's reasonable amount of rain that's still coming down. It will moisten it down. Trust me, it will. If you're worried about that, just get yourself a bucket, or a big tub. Put your straw in it and put it into a tub of water, and actually moisten it before you actually put it on the top.
Okay. Yeah.
And
well, I could do soil. I could do because I have soil available to me, and or straw or anything. But yeah, I really wanted to have a go at this.
Yeah,
Rather
yeah.
than taking up 3 square meters, I thought, well, 1 square meter up the way.
Yeah, you can actually get a piece of wire. You can get a bit of wire as well. You can just make a hoop, like a circle out of wire, and you can do the same thing with wire. If you want to, you can put a layer of soil, a layer of straw, a layer of soil, a layer of straw. You can do it. You can do it like a lasagna.
Yeah.
And
would a meter high, would that be about right? For a meter high?
You can go 2 meters high if you want. It depends on how high your plants are willing to grow.
Okay.
Okay. And the other thing with potatoes, don't forget, yeah, absolutely, it's fine. Don't forget with potatoes, you often have more than one plant on a potato. So wherever you see an eye on the potato and it's starting to get a bit of a growth, that's a viable plant. So if you want to cut your potato in half, so you've got 2 plants. But with that open, that's it. Yeah, you've got plenty of growth there. So you can slice. You probably get 2 or 3, maybe even 4 plants out of that. Where you've got the exposed piece of the potato, if you've got access to some ash or some lime, just pat it into the ash, and it will help to heal up the scar from the open potato.
Like bonfire ash.
Yeah, well, ash is really beneficial for the garden as well because it's got potash in it. Potash is something like tomatoes really need because you won't get firm tomatoes otherwise.
Yeah, I've got access to bonfire ash.
Beautiful, absolutely fantastic. So you've got biochar in there, and you've also got the ash from which has got the potash in it. So make sure you sprinkle that around on your garden and dig it in.
Okay, great,
fantastic. Yeah, really good.
One other thing, if you don't mind. You talked about the chicken pellets.
Yeah.
Chicken. Does that have a use-by date? The stuff I've got is quite old, but it's still quite smelly. Does that mean it's still viable?
Smells good to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Yeah, absolutely.
Giant bit, and it's, I don't know, 5 years old, but it's still smelly. So. Yeah.
Well, basically, all we're talking about nitrogen. We're talking about fiber. We're talking about carbon. In the microbe world, that's all they care about, and that's all stored. That's not going to go off. We're not talking about freshness like a bottle of milk or something, you know.
Yeah.
So it's all good to go. Good to go, mate.
Use it up. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's good. All right, how are we going there? We've gone well over time here, Lauren.
Yes, we have. Because we've all got questions, and you've been great explaining things. I've really enjoyed the presentation. Hands up if you've enjoyed the presentation. So you've done well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, don't forget my green companion, or sorry, your green companion. If you go on there onto the blog page, you will be able to download down the bottom of the page. So you have to scroll right down to the bottom, and there's a heading called resources, and there's 2 downloads that you make. One is on soil mixes. There's a recipe for soil mixes, and there's also your microgreens recipes, as well as how to make your microgreens. So they're 2 free downloads that you can have today if you want.
And I could also download those and email them out to everybody. I'm happy to do that.
Or they're happy to go onto my website and make my traffic go up a little bit too.
And have a look at John's website. It's pretty good. There's I sort of think I'll just have a quick look, and half an hour later I'm thinking, hang on, I came to look for this. Why am I here? Because it's also interesting to look at. So yeah.
I've screenshotted the address, so I will look it up.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, John.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
All right. You're going to hang in there, Lauren?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, John.
All right.
So
thanks,
much.
guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Our Brady Bunch screen is disappearing.
It is.
Yep.
Thank you, John. Lauren,
Thanks.
do you want me to hang around?
Thank
No,
you.
that's okay, Nellie. But I can send you an invitation for next week's workshops as well, if
Thank
you're
you.
able to come along.
I'll
Okay,
have a look. I might actually have my son, but we'll see.
Yep,
I'll let you know
no
by
problem.
email.
Okay then.
Thank
Thanks,
you for being my
Thank you,
microgreen
John.
helper. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Been great,
Bye.
Nellie.
Bye-bye.
I
Does
think
she
that
work
we're-
for you, does she?
Nellie's she's actually a lecturer at Chisholm, but she's also studying. So she's been doing some placement hours, which is
Oh, what does she
incredibly
lecture in?
challenging through lockdown.
Yeah, what does she lecture in?
I think she lectures in youth, and I think she's branching out, so she'll be able to teach practitioners that are working in the domestic violence field, drug and alcohol. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, no, and she's just an amazingly lovely, warm person.
Yeah.
And she's probably got better Zoom skills than me, because she probably lectured most of last year via Zoom. So
Yeah, it's amazing what you pick up, isn't it?
it is.
Just through experience.
We were using it regularly last year, but then we've stopped. And yeah, what they say about you use it or lose it is true, because as soon as Nellie said something, I thought, I knew that. But yeah.
And this is how I taught. This is how I taught permaculture last year, was with Zoom as well. So
yeah. So, but very informative, very interesting.
Yeah.
And the fact that we kept 15 people signed in for the whole time was really, really good. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry we went over time, but as I said, because I hadn't had a chance to run it through, really didn't know how long the program was going to go for.
People asking questions pads that out a bit, but I think that's also part of the appeal of it as well, because otherwise you could just watch YouTube, but when you're able to have the activity, that makes it more interesting. And people ask questions, and I thought, I was going to ask that, but that's good that other people have as well.
You can also tell people, Your Green Companion has a Facebook page as well, so they can look for me on Facebook and they can ask questions through Facebook.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
So I'm really interested to probably talk to you more once we're out of lockdown, if we ever are, just to future planning, because even though we don't have the garden space at the centre, I think the foam boxes and the container planting.
Oh, you can. That's what I said to you. You can do lots of things. You really can. Just because there's building going to go ahead, that shouldn't stop you from having some green space. Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, as soon as we had our break, I went and took my lid off my little hothouse contraption I've got going. And with the woolly seeds, I'm having a 50% strike rate. I've planted 10 and 5 have sprouted. So
it's a bit hit and miss, isn't it?
It is. So, and that's why I wanted to start planting early, because I've had that happen with seeds before. So I think not all of them are viable, or I'm doing something wrong, or but and the videos were fantastic.
Oh, really? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, they were really good. And when Nellie was saying you need to go to the share screen and settings, I did too.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I
didn't tick the box. It was one of those skills that you were talking about. So when I went to share screen, I should have ticked the box of the video, of the audio as well. And I knew that, but it wasn't until she said, I can't hear you, that I remembered that I should have done that.
Yeah. And they're all just refreshers. And I think that just makes us look a bit human as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
absolutely.
no, it was a great couple of hours.
Good.
Yeah. So with the microgreens, we'll probably have to put that on hold until we're out of lockdown, but you've also given people the recipe, and actually giving a demonstration live was brilliant, because I thought, I've got those containers and they breathe.
Everyone. Well, we're all getting the takeaway containers delivered as well. So next time you have your chow mein, or you have your Chinese delivered, hang on to the container, and you can make some microgreens.
I know they're plastic, but if they're getting reused and repurposed, that's a good thing. So
and a lot of that stuff is recyclable as well. So you can use it and then throw it out. But how many times would you be able to reuse it? I mean, we've got so many sets here now we've got peas, we've got radish, we've got wheat, and because we're doing it for the chooks, we have to have a continuous supply of greens for them. So we've got at least 3 trays of wheat going at any given time.
Oh yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah, it's easy to do. So
so I've my daughter was working at Garden World last year in the collector's corner, and she's brought home a little peperomia plant that was probably about that high with 1 leaf on it.
Oh, right.
And she named him Frank, and I think because we named him, we loved him. Frank's now about that tall. He's got lots of branches coming out.
Oh, wonderful.
And when she moved out of home this year, she said, I'm going to have to leave him because our bathroom is perfect growing conditions for him, and where I'm going, it's going to be too cold and no sunlight. So she'll come home and visit and go to the bathroom and talk to Frank.
Excellent. Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's time for some lunch and time for some gardening, I think.
Yes, you've got me enthusiastic and motivated, so thanks very much.
Very welcome. Very welcome. It was a pleasure to be with you guys, and thank you for inviting me along. I'm
just so pleased because it went well. We've got more Zoom workshops next week, and because this one went so well, I'm feeling a sense of confidence and looking forward to the 2 workshops next week.
Look, if you have people asking more about learning about stuff like this, I can do an online permaculture course which goes for 8 weeks, and it's a couple of hours once a week. So if you have half a dozen people, just give me a call, and I'm more than happy to have a chat to them about going online and running a course for them, because while there's enthusiasm, I want to encourage it. I want to encourage more permaculture, more natural growing, more abundance of vegetables, and more confidence. And anyone who becomes a student of mine, I have a private Facebook page which they have direct access to me, and I put things up there all the time, and they can be part of the allium then, and and they start learning all the way through. So
I know that sounds
some benefits for them.
Well, I'm pretty sure that today might generate some interest. So I'll reach out and so what we'll do is if you send your invoice into us, and then the microgreens only take about a week to sprout, don't they? We'll arrange for those later on. So great. Thank you so much for today, John.
Very, very welcome. Thanks,
okay then. Thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Cheerio. Bye.
Bye.